Good evening. You are tuning in to AWANI Tonight with me, Farhana Sheikh. Unfair vaccine distribution led to slower rollout, says Khairi. And in making schools a safer place, where do we begin? That's coming up. The government announced that Kuala Lumpur will now be placed under the movement control order from 7 till 20th May. This was decided after 17 COVID-19 clusters were detected in the territory and the rising number of cases. Food premises such as restaurants, food trucks, hawkers and kiosks are allowed to operate from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. However, dine-in at eateries are not allowed. Grocery stores, convenience stores, pharmacies and gas stations are allowed to operate from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. whereas petrol stations on the highway can operate 24 hours. Hospital, clinics and medical laboratories can operate as usual. Daily and weekly markets as well as farmers' markets and public markets are allowed to operate from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Ramadan bazaars are still allowed to operate under strict SOPs, while interstate travel is not allowed except for work and emergency matters. The opt-in AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccination program started today, with hundreds of Malaysians showing up at 4 vaccination administration centres in Selangor and Kuala Lumpur to receive their first shot. The AstraZeneca vaccines are available via separate appointments only, as opposed to the National Immunisation Programme, which currently prohibits registrants to choose between the Pfizer-BioNTech and Sinovac vaccines. The government has accepted an overwhelming interest from the public over AstraZeneca vaccine, with all of the 260,000 available slots taken up. Another 64,852 are on the wait list for the shot. Phase 3 of the National COVID-19 Immunisation Programme might be delayed beyond its intended kick-off in May. Vaccine Coordinating Minister Khairi Jamaluddin attributed this to the lack of supplies in the global vaccine distribution chain, as pharmaceutical companies seemingly prioritized richer countries, which led to slower vaccination rollouts in developing countries.
Why are the supply of vaccines slow? Simply because pharmaceutical companies prioritize rich countries and give deals to rich countries which were not on offer to developing countries. So that's, I think, something that the international community will have to continue to discuss, not just in terms of managing COVID-19, but in terms of future pandemic management. How these much needed, much sought after vaccines have essentially been monopolized by Western countries. So I believe that this is a topic for a larger conversation. I'm not pushing blame on anybody, but I'm just trying to manage expectations here in Malaysia, because people want the vaccines here. They tell me all the time, I said, when is my term for the vaccines? It's not that they are sitting in a freezer somewhere here in Kuala Lumpur. They haven't arrived yet. They arrive on a very gradual basis. Of course, this is set to change starting in June, July this year, because the rich countries have inoculated most of their citizens already. So it's like from a scene in Titanic where the guys in the low class are waiting for the lifeboats, and the guys in the rich upper cabins have gone off on the lifeboats already. That's what's happening.
All schools in Selangor will close starting tomorrow until after the Hari Raya holidays are over to curb the spread of COVID-19. It comes a day earlier than the scheduled school break, which was meant to start from May 7th until May 15th. 6 districts in Selangor will be placed under MCO following a spike in cases the past 2 weeks. Following the end of the holidays, the Education Ministry also decided that all lessons will be done virtually the following 2 weeks. The Selangor government is also mandating all Ramadan bazaars in districts under MCO to stop operating from this Saturday. Menteri Besar Datuk Sri Amiruddin Shahri said the date was chosen to allow traders some grace period to clear the existing stock. Restaurant dine-ins and hotel buffets would not be allowed beginning tomorrow. Restaurants can still operate between 6 a.m. and midnight for takeaways. We'll take a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Recently, students, parents and teachers have been speaking up about a systemic flaw in the educational institutions. Revelations of rape jokes and sexual harassment being normalized in schools call for immediate change in the social and behavioral patterns in these institutions. Now, where do we begin to make schools a safer place? Alina Amir, co-founder of Arus Academy, shares her thoughts.
So I think it's important that we unpack the existing beliefs, existing culture, before we jump straight into what can we do to solve it. And long-term solutions usually require empathy exercises, where we look at what the students are going through and what the teachers are going through. It requires coalitions, conversations, and very clear action plan and timeline at every level, not just at the ministry level, but also at the school level. So everybody will have to be kept accountable to see progress, reforms, and the sustainability of it. But at the very beginning, I think it's important that we understand each other and where we're coming from.
She said it is crucial for both educators and students to understand the root cause of the problem and be given proper knowledge for reform.
We want to discuss why it's wrong and why it's not. We want to discuss our role and our agency and our responsibility in addressing it. And we want to discuss the options of how we can go about it. This will not come from just an adult point of view, but also on a student's point of view. So students need to be extremely informed of their rights and their agency and what they can or cannot do. And going through this process with your students is important. Going through that process with your child is important.
The school walkout day proposed by an alliance comprising of several civil society groups, parents, youth and teachers are calling for the one-day absence on tomorrow or Friday.
Therefore, students should continue to voice out and question the norms and status quo. Educationist Bernard O from Pemimpin GSL said it is important for the new generation of students to be able to think critically and determine injustices to make schools a safer place.
Bernard said it takes a village to raise a child, where efforts from all levels are needed for an educational reform.
Ministry of Education standpoint, I think, number one, a needs analysis should be done in the school area to understand where is the problem actually on the understanding of safe schools, right? How many students are aware of what is safe or unsafe, what is safe touch or not, and how many teachers are skilled to deliver these modules to the kids. Number one is needs analysis. Number two is, I think, targeted training should be done in schools, right? It cannot be a blanket one, but customized to the needs of the schools. And I think teachers must be equipped to further empower the needs of the students, empower the students with the right tools and skills so that they are constantly heard in the education system. And at the same time, I think this training is also beneficial for the teachers because they would know what are the professional boundaries in school. And these boundaries are not meant to restrict them, but meant to liberate them so that they can teach in the most dynamic way possible within that boundaries, right? And number three, I think we should also look into enhancing the current curriculum on sex education. I think there are ongoing efforts to teach sex education in school, such as safe touch and etc. But I hope to see the syllabus being enhanced, and I think MOE should also empower the community, meaning the students and the teachers, to share their input and co-create these curriculums together. And I think finally, community and parent engagement is really important. Like you said, right, there are some parents that might not aware that this is an issue even. And if some of them do, they might not know how best to educate their child about this. So I think a lot more effort should be spent on community and parent engagement.
On to the international front. The US Customs and Border Protection seized a shipment of nitrile gloves from Top Glove on indications they were made by forced labour. The 3.97 million gloves is estimated to be worth over $518,000. Earlier, US Customs issued a forced labour finding on Top Glove based on evidence of multiple indicators including debt bondage, excessive overtime, abusive working and living conditions, and retention of identity documents. It had initially banned products from two of Top Glove's subsidiaries last July, but extended the ban to all of the manufacturer's products made in Malaysia in March. Top Glove in a statement said it continues to work closely with the US Customs towards a resolution. India accounted for 1 in 4 COVID-19 deaths globally last week. According to the World Health Organization, India also accounted for nearly half of the COVID-19 cases reported. This as the country today reported record daily rise in deaths with 3,780 people dead in the past 24 hours, while daily new infections rose by over 380,000 cases. The surge of the highly infectious Indian variant has seen hospitals run out of beds and oxygen and left morgues and crematoriums overflowing. The New Delhi High Court will decide whether to press contempt charges against officials for defying its order to meet oxygen requirements of more than 40 hospitals in the capital. India has an estimated 3.45 million active cases, but experts say the actual numbers of dead and infected could be 5 to 10 times higher. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government has been widely criticised for not acting sooner to suppress the second wave of the virus. Australia's Prime Minister is resisting mounting pressure to lift a temporary ban on flights from India. Scott Morrison defended the move, saying any early resumption of arrivals from India would erode Australia's quarantine capability. Australia has taken the decision to suspend all flights from India coming into the country till May 15th. Lawyers, meanwhile, are planning a legal challenge to the government's ability to prevent around 9,000 Australian citizens and permanent residents from returning home from India. Travellers who breach the travel ban can face up to 5 years imprisonment. 5 people that were killed in an explosion in Myanmar this week were building a bomb. That's according to state media controlled by the junta. Yesterday, there were reports that a homemade bomb in the city of Bago killed 4 men and a lawmaker from Aung San Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy party. Since the military seized power in February, Myanmar has seen an increasing number of small blasts in cities and towns, some targeting government offices and military facilities. There have been no claim of responsibility to the recent bomb incident. A protest in line with Make Schools a Safer Place calls for students and teachers to be absent online and offline for a day or one period. On Consider This, we asked our panelists about the nationwide school walkout day. That is all we have for you on AWANI Tonight. Get the latest news update on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and Astro Awani app. I'm Farhana Sheikh. We'll see you again.